when it comes to porn addiction, sexual addiction, is that there was no place ever for these individuals to have a teenage experience. Their teenage experience was in yeshiva, shielded from women, shielded from adults. So there's these boys with raging hormones trapped in a school, sounds like a prison to me, where there is only access sexually to the same sex. I can't tell you how many clients I have that don't know if they're gay or if they're heterosexual. They had these experiences with these boys, either in yeshiva or with their cousins or when they were at camp, or all of these different experiences, because the conversation around sex is so taboo. So the raging hormones are there. They don't know what to do with their bodies. Eventually start experimenting with their friends, which is same sex. And then they start questioning their own sexuality. Who can they come? Can they talk to their mother about this? Can they talk to their father about these? Can they talk to the rabbi about these things? They don't talk to anybody. The shame is like they're wearing this jacket that's 3 inches thick.
This is Listening to Understand, where sensitive Jewish truth seekers gather in a safe place for candid conversations on challenging topics. When we listen to truly understand and not in order to respond, we can replace judgment with curiosity and open our hearts to every Jew, regardless of their personal choices. As Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. I'm Atana. Let's get started. Today, I sit down with the awesome Omar Pinto. Omar Pinto is a certified NLP practitioner with over 20 years of experience in the personal development coaching space. Omar is also a plant medicine practitioner, helping his clients break through mental and emotional blocks that traditional coaching and therapy are not able to penetrate. Omar was the host of a shared podcast, Sharing Helps Addicts in Recovery, and the Omar Pinto Coaching Podcast, where he coached individuals live on air. He is a fascinating human being. His success comes from his ability to pierce through mental blockages, preventing his clients from being the most authentic and genuine version of themselves. I heard of him from one of my non-Jewish friends, or maybe he's half Jewish, I should say, Tony, who was on our Hope to Recharge podcast many years ago, and he shares his recovery journey. When Tony spoke about Omar on his own podcast, I said, I need to interview Omar. And then I realized that Ellie Nash also had him a bunch of times on his podcast. From listening to everything he has to say, I felt very drawn to a lot of the stories. And I wanted to understand more what is hidden behind so much of the addiction in the Orthodox Jewish community. So I sat down with him. It's a little bit intense. This conversation is intense. I must say, there might be some places that you'll feel triggered or maybe a deep breath needed. And it was definitely an eye-opener for me and a lot that I want to think about. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have some incredible takeaways, and I hope it brings you some insight and healing and a lot of things to think about. Enjoy this episode. Welcome, everybody, to Listening to Understand podcast. I have the phenomenal Omar Pinto. I've just told him that I feel like I'm with a celebrity, somebody that I've been following for years, literally years. My friend Tony told me about him. I feel like anybody from the recovery world, they become brothers for life, right? Is that correct?
It is very correct. It's a recovery, personal development. Once you get on, basically it's the path. Once you get on the path, then your family, your new family, your real family starts to form.
Yeah. And I know from Tony was on Hope to Recharge many years ago. I met him through business, not through recovery. I don't know much about recovery. I know recovery from depression and anxiety. I don't know the other recovery, which I believe that's the true rebirth of a human is when they go through recovery. And I heard his story and I was like blown away, just blown away. His commitment to every single day show up with his truth. Every single day, no matter what yesterday happened. Today, I'm going to get up and walk again and do again. And the whole recovery is very inspiring to me. For me, it's spiritual. I feel like it's spiritual growth. And when I heard about you, I'm like, okay, one day I'm going to get to, I put my wishes out to the universe and I say my little manifestation wishes. And I'm like, Omar, one day, I will meet Omar one day. And I'm so grateful that you're here, Omar. And The reason why I brought
I'm
you.
grateful to be here too.
Oh, that's nice. I'm happy to know that. Thank you. So, all the way from Costa Rica, I'm in New York. We're colliding some energy here. And the reason why I brought you on to listening to understand, you are not Jewish. You can hold up your tattoos for when we show it on
Tattoo, right?
YouTube.
I'm not Jewish.
Yeah. And not meaning that people with tattoos are not Jewish, but he made it very clear that he has a Japanese. Tell me what you have.
It's a Japanese Hanya, so it's really a Japanese demon, and the other one is a Hindu god, Ganesha. Okay, so it's very conflicting. Okay, so most people wouldn't have. They're completely different cultures, completely different belief systems, but they coexist on me. Okay, because they serve a specific purpose in my life. More than anything, it's for protection. That's why I wear them.
Nice. So people are saying, so why bring Omar on listening to understand, which is sensitive Jewish conversations? Why Omar? And Omar's to private practice, your coaching, everything you do is majority Jewish, and a lot of them
Yes,
are Orthodox and maybe even
correct.
Hasidim, right?
Yes.
Omar knows all the Jewish terminologies. Like he knows everything. Like
I
he can
don't
write
know everything. Okay, let's not get carried away. Just because I recognize the terminology doesn't mean I could even explain it. Okay, but I work with Satmars, I work with Chabad, I work with people from Williamsburg, I work with people, all over the United States that are in some sort of Jewish community. Florida and New York are my primary clients.
And why do they come to you? Tell me a little bit about how they decide to say, okay, I'm going to Omar more than anyone else.
There's two things. One thing that I know, and one thing that I believe. Okay, my mother's a Jehovah's Witness, and I was raised in a Jehovah's Witness upbringing. Okay, so very religious. I call it a cult. Okay, I refer to most fundamental extreme religious practices as a cult. That's just my own. It's my way of explaining my own upbringing and what I connect with when I feel like there's a level of oppression that exists within in that religious organization. So I come from what I believe to be a cult-like religious background, and from a very early age, there was a part of me I couldn't get it, and there was no chance I was going to believe it. And we're talking about a 10-year-old child. 10-year-old child is going to religious, you could say church, Kingdom Hall, whatever, synagogue, whatever you want to call it. It was called a Kingdom Hall when I was growing up. And I'm going 3 times a week, and none of it is making sense. By the time I was 16 years old, I told my mom, I said, Mom, I don't believe any of this. She says, I think you're a little too young to just think that more than God does or more than the Bible does. And I go, yeah, I think I do. And I want out. So she asked me to stay until I was 18 years old. And I think that 2 year window of time created a level of resentment that even though I expressed myself, even though I openly expressed that this is not something that I am in alignment with or I believe in, that I wasn't obligated to go, but I'm a 16-year-old kid and my mom's asking me to continue to go to church with her. And so I felt guilty saying no, which is another tool used for me as far as religious organizations. They use tools as a way of manipulating and keeping people within the fold. So at 18 years old, I was gone. Like 18 birthday, my present to me was, Mom, you said when I turned 18, I never had to go back. She said, that's what I said. She goes, are you sure? I go, I was sure when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. Like I never want to have anything to do with this again. So I believe that there's a fact. That's one thing. That's the belief. I believe that there's certain individuals in the religious community that feel trapped, that feel like they don't have a voice, that feel like they're in a cult, that feel like they're oppressed. And those are the ones that find their way to. Also, the thing that I know is that I was working with Ellie Nash for well over a year. I was coaching Ellie, and during the pandemic, my business completely disappeared. So I had a pretty relatively full practice. At the time, I was focused on recovery. My clientele was mainly people struggling with addiction from drugs and alcohol. And then that dried up during the pandemic. People were just not paying for coaching. And then I was on a call with Ellie in the middle of 2020 during the pandemic. And I told him, man, I'm really struggling right now. My clientele is dried up. And Ellie was like, oh, you need clients? Oh, why didn't you say so? That was in May of 2020. By June, most of my spaces were filled up. And by July, I couldn't take on any more clients. Massive. And so Ellie has consistently has clients that are struggling with some sort of addiction. Either they're struggling emotionally, they've got some sort of mental health struggle. They have mostly it's anxiety and depression that they deal with, and obviously people trying to recover from sex addiction and porn addiction. So since 2020, basically my whole clientele has been Jewish. So if you want to understand the story, there's your story.
And what I want to understand is you're not saying that they're coming to you to get permission to leave the religion. They're coming because the pain of the conflict of living something that they're not connecting to. And there's a void.
I think it could be both. Okay. I think that there's many of them have come down very conflicted with their own religious beliefs. Is this the right path for me? Is this what I should be doing? All right. So there is that real conversation. But most of them are just trying to find the Judaism that works for them and give themselves permission to observe the way they feel is right for them, which they currently do not feel they have permission to.
And their struggles manifest in addiction. And that's why they're coming to you.
In many cases, it does manifest itself in either some sort of porn addiction or sex addiction. Also, I would say, depression. Okay, so I get rid of that. Lots of anxiety.
And when you
And
say
stuckness.
yeah,
That's okay.
yeah.
So it's really the word. A lot of times I'll get in a call, in a discovery call with a client, and they just say, "Oh my, I just feel stuck." And I
In
go, "I hear
life
you."
in general,
Yeah. In general, they don't know where it's coming from. They're like, Omar, I'm just stuck. Okay, I'm making good money. I have a family. I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm just stuck. I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. And I
so they're
just feel
not
like,
stuck in productivity. They're stuck in their
no,
emotional happiness and joy and feeling alive.
I coach very few Jews that are stuck in productivity. They're the most productive people that I have met. Okay. Then there's an intensity to the clients that I work with, to the Jewish clients I work with. There, the intensity is high. Very few people can do the work that I do and the way that I do it with the level of intensity that comes at you from my clients. Okay. So their level of productivity is very high, very accomplished, very successful. And I think the fact that they have so many children and they have so many obligations and so many responsibilities, they don't have an option. They can't just not be productive. There's a factor of productivity that's very necessary in their lives in order for them to support the 5, 6, 9, 10 kids that they have.
So when they say stuck, do you ask them, what does stuck look like to you? Because if you're getting up in the morning, you're being productive, you're married, you're having children, that's not something that stuck people have. For me, stuck is I'm not doing anything. I'm just like a log. I'm not moving. What does stuck mean to these people? That's what I want to understand.
No,
That you understand. You probably understand better.
they're not happy with on. They're miserable. Okay. They're irritable, restless, and discontent. They are not happy in their lives. They don't feel fulfilled. The main issue is that I rap to fill in, I pray in the mornings, I do what I'm supposed to do, I observe Shabbos. I don't feel God. I don't feel God in my life. I don't know what that feels like. I don't know what that looks like. I don't even understand it. It's like I do all these things in order to connect with God, but it feels like I am just doing something. I'm just performing a routine, but I'm incapable of connecting. So what really the stuck is they're unable to feel. They're unable to
Yeah.
feel fulfilled and accomplished and successful. Like they make a ton of money. Why don't I feel successful? Why don't I feel accomplished? Why don't I
Like a
even want to go
void.
home? Yeah.
A void, like a
Void.
hole, like
Yeah.
a pit, and you're
Yeah.
constantly trying to feed it and nothing's going in.
Correct.
I'm curious, why wouldn't they say the word, I feel dead, I don't feel alive, I feel no
Oh, I've heard that
passion?
too.
Why stuck? Like the word stuck is fascinating to me.
That's an easy word because
Mm,
all those things all feel like basically drowning in quicksand.
mm,
Right? There's this sense of malaise and apathy that kind
mm.
of starts to cover you when everything that you do, no matter how well you do it, is enough.
Yeah,
There's always that sense. Most of the people, I would say, not even the most of the people that I work with, I think I would say in general, globally, what people struggle with is this idea that no matter what they do, it's never enough.
for
Why?
who? For
Because
themselves or
for
others?
themselves, for themselves. Yeah,
Okay.
because there's a pressure associated with existing. Okay, existing as a human being is a pressure. Okay, like if I have a dog, the dog has no pressure. Does he have to worry about getting up and going to work and making his breakfast and finding a place to sleep. Everything is taken care of. But as humans, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to support ourselves. We have to provide for ourselves. We have to make a living. Okay. We have to cook for ourselves, care for ourselves, take care of ourselves. There's this incredible pressure every single day just to exist. And when you get to a place where you are accomplishing all the things that you're supposed to be doing, there is a feeling associated with that people are waiting for subconsciously. You're told what to do, and then you do these things, and there's an expectation. Like,
Yeah.
why do you do the things that you do, Matana? And hold on one second, Matana, or
Matana.
because I remember when I interviewed Ellie for the first time, I called him Eli the whole interview, and then he didn't correct me, and that felt ridiculous.
It's okay. I got matna. I got everything, but it means present gift in Hebrew.
Well,
And
like
in
that.
it, yeah. So in Israel, I always say in Israel, it opens every door. In America, I lose my identity.
Matana.
Matana. So
Okay,
why
got
do
it.
I do? Once I used to do because I was told to, because I was, that's what we do. I often used to hear, but that's what we do. And often
That's
I
what we
used to
do.
say, but who is the we?
Mm-hmm.
I used to question a lot. And then afterwards, I used to say, okay, what fills my soul? Now, a lot of times now, I'm in a life that I do a lot of things that I don't appreciate to do, but I know that it's a part of the bigger picture that I choose. So I choose who I'm going to be with, who I'm going to spend time with. What am I going to do? Sometimes I do things that are really technically annoying. And would I choose it 20 years ago? I don't know. But I try to be very mindful. Try, because I went through the brokenness of hell, of depression and anxiety, to realize it's not worth living somebody else's life for somebody else's satisfaction. It's me versus me. And when it's me versus me, I choose to bring God in.
Correct. But at some point, when you chose to bring God in, what did that look like? Because there was a moment in your life where you just did what you were told to do.
It was the darkest time of my life.
Well,
It was the darkest time because I was alone in this. Wait, it's no longer working what they are telling me.
mm-hmm.
My body's telling me, you're out, I'm out. And my brain is my only asset that gets my body to work. So I got to fix my mind. And what's broken is a lot. And then I had to go back to basics and understand what God is and what's God for me. And I know a lot of people don't like hearing this, but that's okay. I needed the journey to home to me, the journey to what I wanted God to look like for me, my relationship with Hashem, my intimacy. I call it intimacy with God. Before I had fear and the unknown and 1,000 billion questions. Now I have intimacy with a lot of unknown. And that's okay.
So, how old were you when all this happened?
32.
32.
3 kids.
Yes. Okay. No, when that happened.
I was 32 and I had 3 kids at the time.
Okay. Okay. How long ago was that?
14 years ago.
Oh, okay. All right. The thing is, how would you describe that feeling that ultimately pushed you out, that told you something? Your body was like, this is the right.
I had no choice. It was either death, literally death, or change.
So basically, I don't know if I would say death or change.
For me, I was in such a deep depression. I didn't want to die. I always say I didn't want to die, but I didn't trust my body and my emotions to protect me from the pits of the incredible pain I was going through. So I didn't even know what part was a decision and what part was a reaction.
I'm assuming that all of that pain is just the realization that you do not have sovereignty over yourself.
A lot of it was.
So that's what I deal with. There you go. In a nutshell, we have it mapped out. This is what I deal with.
So why do they come to you? I want to know, why are they saying there's such a fear of leaving the Jewish community, right? If I'm in this, won't I find somebody within the Jewish community that will guide me? I had healers within the Jewish community that led me to my truth. What makes somebody say, okay, I'm reaching out to Omar? What's that rock bottom?
The first one, the most important one, is just the Ellie Nash relationship. Because most of the time, they're struggling with something. They go to Ellie. Ellie says, go meet with Omar. Okay, see if that'll work. Then the clients that I've worked with that were sent to me by Ellie, they have success. We see success. So I became the guy. Okay. So they just started referring clients to me because they started seeing success. They started feeling good about themselves, right? Things started to shift. And so my reputation just started to expand in the community. They come to me because they were referred to. They were struggling with whatever it is that they're struggling with. And they felt, you know what? At least give Omar a try. Let's see if he can help. Okay. And also the fact that I've been on Ellie's podcast. So they've heard, just like you've heard me share my story and discuss my practice and discuss even working with Jews, that they go, I want to talk to that guy. Like that guy gets me. Okay. So there is, those are really the factors. Okay. That's the reason why they would come to me. It was either they're being referred to me or they heard about me on a podcast or those are the two main reasons why they find.
I often talk about this rock bottom moment that we often say, okay, I went through it also. Is he Jewish? Does he use Jewish energy? That this fear of leaving what's right or wrong. Will he do something to convince me otherwise? Will I lose my identity? There's a lot of that fear.
Yeah.
And then you get to a place and you say, okay, fine. I don't care what's going to heal me. If you tell me walk backwards to India and drink this green tea along the way, I'll do it. Like I'm going to try because it's just this way is no longer working. So I'm going to try everything. And probably what I understand is like people are already saying, okay, fine. Nothing worked until now. I need change and I need change fast because I can't take it's me, my family. Maybe it's family members are saying, okay, you got to get help. And whatever it is, whatever it takes, just get help. Now you mentioned the word success. What does that mean? People are going to say, what does that mean? What does Omar mean by success?
When I talk about when they see success with me, that there's a level of understanding about themselves and a sense of autonomy that they take back.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Right? It's a slow process, but I use Jewish terminology to help them. So there's a few things, for example, Lech Lecha. Okay, so Lech Lecha is the journey of Abraham. What did Abraham have to do? He had to, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to go. And what about Egypt? Did they have to leave Egypt? And did they immediately go into a 4 seasons? Or did they walk for 40 years in the desert?
Right.
I said, if you're deep into literature, you're understanding and you're paying attention to these stories, all these stories talk about a journey. Every single one of these throughout the entire Torah is a journey. It's not about honor your mother and your father by staying in the same community, abiding by their rules, giving them the priority that they need for their entire existence. Nowhere in the literature does it say that. Anywhere. I challenge anyone to show me that. Where it says honor your parents by staying with them.
Right.
Okay. We honor our parents by becoming. We don't honor our parents by staying. And so there's a very different, like, that's how I was raised. Honor your father and your mother. Okay. Basically, what they took that to mean is whatever we say, you do. That's it. Okay. So I will dishonor my parents. For me, I'm going to get a bunch of tattoos. I'll show you. So there was a lot of rebelliousness in my own upbringing that ended up hurting me tremendously. Okay. It was my taking my autonomy, taking my sovereignty back for myself, and then just throwing myself into a life of hedonism and Sodom and Gomorrah, basically, for about 10 years until I hit rock bottom with drugs and alcohol. And I said, this is not the way. And I really need God back in my life. So there was that moment where I recognized that I didn't need what my parents were selling me, and I didn't need what religion was selling me, but I knew instinctively that God was missing in my life and I needed him. I couldn't tell you. That was the first thing that came to me when I was at my rock bottom. But it was in then that I joined the 12-step fellowship and got very spiritual. And I'm still very spiritual and very not religious. Okay. But ultimately, it's go. I was born in California, raised in California. I moved to Costa Rica when I was 30 years old, started an entire different life. Okay. Left my home. I went to the land that God had waiting for me, which is here in Costa Rica, which I have a beautiful life here in Costa Rica. But if I would have stayed, what would have my life have been like? Where would I have gone? So there was really a lot of teachings in the Jewish literature that expresses the need to completely disconnect from your family of origin. You have to go find yourself.
Physically. You're saying
Physically.
So 1 second, Omar, I'm going to challenge you here. So let's say somebody comes to you from Satmar. Okay, now let's take a little bit easier. From Lakewood. Someone comes from Lakewood, has 9 children, and he's sitting and learning, or maybe not sitting and learning the whole time. He has a side business. He got married when he was 22, 23 or something like that, had children. He thought that's what he wanted. He still loves his kids and family. He doesn't want to abandon them in order to find himself, but he's coming to you. He's feeling stuck. He's addicted to
Why would he leave his wife and
pornography.
kids?
No, because you said go, leave. That's what I want to make clear here that people should understand.
Why would he leave his wife and children? I'm talking about his parents and his siblings.
No, so I want to make that clear that people should
it's
understand when
clear.
the stuckness comes, it doesn't mean you have to leave everything that you're currently in. I want to make that clear.
You take your family and you leave New York, the Jewish hub of the world, okay, where there is just almost every sect imaginable in New York or New Jersey, okay? Take your family, move to Arizona, okay?
Move to where it's easier to explore yourself without feeling ostracized and the pressure of what other people will say.
Yeah. Move to California, move to Arizona, go find a community. Google exists, okay?
Right.
Go do a little Google search and find other Jewish communities, okay? And interview the schools instead of the schools interviewing you, which is typically the case, which is another thing that I have no understanding about that whatsoever.
Right.
The schools interviewing the people that are going to pay to put their children into school.
Yes.
Okay. I said, you should be interviewing them.
Right.
Why are they interviewing you?
Are you good enough for us? Are you good enough for the culture? But in a way, it's like a business.
Are you good enough?
Or do you fit? Or maybe do you fit our core values? I will give it to them. Do you fit our core values? And if not, you don't belong here. And in a way, I fine. But it doesn't give. But what you're saying is take ownership. Find the place that you fit in instead of them telling you that you don't fit in. You find ownership.
Thank you. Do I feel like I belong here? Do I feel that they deserve my money? Do they deserve to be raising my children?
Exactly.
That should be the question.
Do I want their core values in my children every single day? I'm choosing. It's an ownership. That's basically what you're saying. Become a partner in your life. Become a decision maker in your life.
Correct. That's the thing. Coaching is about taking action. Okay.
Right.
So therapy and coaching are different. The primary difference is it's very objective oriented. Okay. Outcome oriented. Okay. So when you come to me, it's more like, okay, what are you struggling with? Okay, great. Now what do you want to accomplish? What do you want? Okay. I don't know what I want. But we have to start there. We have to figure out, if you don't know what you want, then you'll just accept anything. That's the problem right now. You're accepting whatever is given to you because you don't know what you want, or you won't allow yourself to indulge your mind to consider, what is it that I truly want? Do I want to have 9 kids? Do I believe that having a child every single year is a blessing? Or do I believe that it's an obligation put on me that I'm not ready to embrace? My coaching is a lot of philosophical. We do a lot of philosophizing, and I use the literature as a way to springboard into these conversations. But primarily, it's like, you don't have to do anything. Let's make it clear. You're choosing to stay in this community. You're choosing to abide by these rules. You're choosing to. And as soon as you embrace that, there's a certain almost relief.
Because you're not a victim anymore.
Right, exactly. So first is changing the language
100%
that we use on ourselves. Like, I have to do. No, you don't. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to pay your taxes. You don't have to pay the mortgage. You don't have to put the kids to school. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to stay married. You could buy a plane ticket tomorrow to Australia. You've got plenty of money. Get to change your whole identity and disappear for the rest of your life. You could physically do that, right? Like, I could you do that? Yes, I could. I use really ridiculous examples, things that are so ludicrous, that so radical, that at first it jars their consciousness. Like, where's he going?
Because there's guilt, there's shame, there's responsibility. I'm a terrible person. Of course I could do it, but I signed up for marriage. Of course I could do it, but I have my children. Of course I could do it, but what am I going to do alone? Of course, like, there's all the reasons why not. But you're trying to say, okay, let's just break it down. Let's go back to basics. What part of it is your choice?
You could leave your entire family, but you're choosing not to. You're choosing to put your kids in the school. You're choosing to raise your kids in this community. And you're choosing to stay in this community because the world is a giant place. we're technologically advanced in a way that we've never been. So you could take your entire family and move to a community that works more in alignment with your values if you know what those values are. What are your values? What do you value?
Taking a break for a few seconds to give you a quick announcement. If you haven't joined our Listening to Understand WhatsApp community, please do so now. There's a link in the show notes. We're going to be sharing more exciting stuff only for the members of the Listening to Understand WhatsApp community. See you there. I just want to I can't agree more with you, but I want to the audience that is listening, I think needs to understand Omar is not saying do radical things. He says, own what you do and realize that you are an active participant of your life. Even when you say, often I hear with my clients, I have no choice. I'm like, do you really have no choice? You do have a choice, but you're choosing between 2, 3, 4, 5 hards, which is the least hard at this moment. And maybe that hard needs to change.
So in many cases, it's really going, I like to push them to the edge too, because there's this aspect of this need to almost like rattle the cage because they're so stuck and they're so afraid and they're so guilt-ridden. It's like, okay, let's just get radical on all this. Okay, let's just say like
permission to be radical. Permission.
Right.
I let you here to just dream. In Omar's room, we dream.
Right. And then once we come back to the reality, now that you have a choice, now tell me what you want.
I love it. Love it.
Because at that point, we go so far out into the ethos, okay, that at some point when we come back and we land, it's like, oh, okay, oh my God, I don't have to move to Australia. Oh, thank God. No, you don't have to do anything I tell you. That's the fear, the reason why most people don't want to hear things. So if you notice, there's people that are talkers and there are people that are listeners. The people that are listeners are willing to receive. The talkers are not interested in receiving. They're afraid to receive any information because the information that they received up until this moment has caused a lot of pain and a lot of anguish in their life, right? So a lot of times it's really understanding what type of person I'm dealing with, okay? So the ones that are talking, they don't want anything to come in, okay? So what are they afraid of? Further indoctrination. What are they feeling guilty about? The potential of idolatry or some other form of religion or some sort of evil entity or the Yatahara coming into the equation. So talk, no, but this, but that. Listen, I'm asking a question. What if? I'm just creating a container here so that we can explore possibilities because you don't know what you want. So we have to start chipping away at the armor that is preventing you from imagining because you've lost that ability. It's in there, but it's trapped. Your ability to dream, your ability to dream, to set objectives, to set goals, to feel like this is a possibility. If you currently feel trapped in your either existence or community or sect, then you don't have to, you're never not going to be Jewish. There's nothing that I can do, nothing that you can do. There's nothing that you can change that's going to stop you from being Jewish. You will always be Jewish. It is in your blood. So let's just start there. There's nothing that I can say and there's nothing that I can do that will ever change the fact that you are Jewish. The question is, how do you want to express yourself as a Jew? That's the only question. You want to wear Paris? Do you want to wear pants? Do you want to wear that funny furry hat? Do you want to wear only black and white for the rest of your life? Or is there something else? Express yourself here. Tell me what you want. It doesn't mean that you have to make a decision at all. In many cases, I'll give my clients the homework assignment. In a perfect world, where if a genie came out of a bottle tomorrow and said, you can have anything you want, what would that be? And it gives them permission to express themselves. And in many cases, we find the desires that are laid hidden, but they're afraid to share those desires because most of the time when they share their desires with anyone, they just get
shut
crushed.
Down.
They get shut down, they get crushed. So the idea is to allow them. And then I go, okay, so now we have like perfect, beautiful. Now we have something to work with here. Now the question is, how close can we get to any of these? Like if it takes 10 steps, could we just move one step? What does one step closer to this particular goal look like? Right. And so a lot of times in that discussion, they start to just develop hope. Hope is really what rekindles their zest for living, their sense of fulfillment. They're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm having a conversation here that I've never had before. Like, thank you, Omar. Thank you for like providing this container so that we can just talk
For exploration
for
of me.
exploration and expression.
And sometimes the exploration makes it so clear to us what our true beliefs are. But so many times, I know that in my personal experience, that sometimes my beliefs were feeling very different than the beliefs that I grew up with. But just expressing it and talking about it in a safe place, I realized, oh, you know what? I do believe like that, but I needed it like a little bit differently. But feeling so trapped in the fact that I couldn't express it made me resent that.
Yes, correct. Trust me, Matana. There was a time in my life where I thought, when I was working with so many Jews, I thought my job was to liberate the Jews. Okay. And then I did a plant medicine journey. Funny thing, I was in an ayahuasca journey with one of my Jewish clients. So he was lying right next to me. Okay. And I'm deep in the journey. And the medicine says, Omar, you are not here to liberate the Jews. Okay. That is not your job. Okay. You are here to support them in their journey and help
Mm.
them come to peace with the fact that they're Jews and to create a Judaism for themselves that allows them to connect directly to God. That's it. That's what you're here to do. Stop trying to liberate the
Beautiful.
Jews. And I'm cracking up. I'm like deep in the medicine, cracking up like, oh, what a relief.
you, you mean I'm not Moses?
No, you are not Moses, sir. Okay?
The reincarnation of Moses with tattoos.
You can use the Moses story. You can use the Abraham story. You can talk about Leprechaun all you want. Okay? You can talk about leaving Egypt because that's all true. At some point, we all have to leave Egypt to find the land that God has promised for us. For me, the land was Costa Rica. All right. And so a lot of it is just really allowing for conversation, allowing for expression, which is one of the things that we opened up with was also the sexual addiction and the sexual problems within the Jewish community.
Okay, so let's go there. You see the Orthodox Jewish clientele and you see a pattern. It's clear for you. And let's go through these patterns because we're here not to bash. We're not here to change Satmar. And we don't want Satmar to change. And we don't want people leaving religion. We want them to live with authenticity, intimacy with Hashem, with their Hashem. We want them journey to home with themselves because you know their true healing is with spirituality, with their truth, not somebody else's truth, and they have one life. So what do you see in your practice that you feel like is a common denominator with your clients that is something that we might be able to change within the system in order to not create such a void of spirituality and self?
It's tough because my view on sexuality and my view on my children is very modernistic, I guess you could say. Okay, like for me, when my daughter turned 18 years old, okay, it was important for me to say, hey, listen, you're 18 years old right now. Okay, you're an adult. Okay, some people will agree, some people won't agree. I'm your father, so I'm just letting you know. You're 18 years old, and from now until 30 is the opportunity of your life to go out and explore the world, make all the mistakes, have boyfriends, live with boyfriends, don't get pregnant. Okay. But if you want to go to school, if you want to travel, if you want to go to another country, go to another country. This is the time for you to explore the world and explore yourself. You have all the tools that your mother and I have given you to survive in this world. And I'm here for you no matter what. So you fly. She is now 21 years old, living in California with her boyfriend. Okay. And is working full time, thriving, loving her life, is super, super happy. Okay. I tell you that story because this is what I believe is missing in the culture. By the time you are either bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah, starts the journey to adulthood at 13 years old. Okay. There's a very important time frame between 13 and 25 where you are preparing to explore the world. From 13 to about 18 in the secular world, you're going junior high and then high school. And at 18, you graduate from high school and technically you're an adult. You can join the military, you can move out of your parents' house, you don't have to emancipate yourself. You're free to do what you want. And so in that time frame is the teenage years where you're exploring your sexuality, you're exploring with drugs and alcohol, you're exploring with parties and social life and having friends and not having friends and having boyfriend and girlfriends and having all these experiences that allow you to use the tools that you've developed from your parents to go out and explore the world. Find out what it is that you want to do. Live in a different place, go somewhere else. And what I have come to realize, especially when it comes to porn addiction, sexual addiction, is that there was no place ever for these individuals to have a teenage experience. Their teenage experience within yeshiva, shielded from women, shielded from adults. So there's these boys with raging hormones trapped in a school, sounds like a prison to me, where there is only access sexually to the same sex. I can't tell you how many clients I have that don't know if they're gay or if they're heterosexual. They had these experiences with these boys, either in yeshiva or with their cousins, or when they were at camp, or all of these different experiences, because the conversation around sex is so taboo. So the raging hormones are there. They don't know what to do with their bodies.
Sex
Okay.
and sexuality.
Sex and sexuality, don't know what to do with it. Eventually start experimenting with their friends, which is same sex. And then they start questioning their own sexuality. Who can they come? Can they talk to their mother about this? Can they talk to their father about these? Can they talk to the rabbi about these things? They don't talk to anybody
And so
about
much
those things.
shame and guilt and
The
confusion.
shame is like they're wearing this jacket that's 3 inches thick. Like sometimes when they're telling me the story, they start, I know where they're going with this, but it takes them 20 minutes to tell the story because they have to give all the pretext.
Nuances.
Yeah, they're like walking on eggshell. I can feel their guilt, their embarrassment, their shame. Okay. There's incest. There's kids that were raised in a home where there's 10 kids, 4 bedrooms. And so there's cases where I've had clients where they've walked in on their brother sleeping with their sister. Okay.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
The things that listen, I think that's one of the reasons why I do what I do at the age that I do, because the things that I hear, I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to give you any more because there's more. Okay.
Or yeshivas that guys
Yes.
are sleeping with each other and pleasuring themselves because they
Yes.
don't have that outlet
Yeah.
for girls and they're not allowed to be with the girls. So they're raging hormones. Now, it's
Now,
not all yeshivas and all the time, but almost every yeshiva has it, I could say, probably.
It's not possible for you to stick men, not even men, boys between 15 and 18 alone in a school by themselves.
With raging hormones of puberty.
That is going to happen, period, end of story. It is going to happen. It needs to. The body, the physical body that God created
Needs a release.
Needs a release. It must have it. And in that release comes the most unbelievable amount of guilt and shame. And so a lot of the men that I deal with are still punishing themselves 25 years old, 30 years old, 35 years old. They can't think of one more thing to do right as far as their own religious practices. And no matter how much they embrace or participate in their own religious practices, they can't shake that unbelievable feeling of guilt and shame of their past. And like it comes up, and like it comes up, and like it comes up. And so and then they act out because they can't deal with all the guilt and shame. So what do? They need the quickest self-soothing mechanism, which is either porn or massage parlors or some sort of acting out, okay, sexually. Okay,
how do they find out about these things in the very close community? Aren't they afraid if they live in Williamsburg and Lakewood and Brooklyn? Are they afraid to get caught? Isn't there fear there?
Most of them, it's porn addiction. That way they don't there's no fear of getting caught there. Okay. But trust me, part of the release is the intensity of the fear associated with getting caught. So when you're
like
for
a
example,
secret desire to
yeah,
end the misery, like just
it,
catch me, like free me from it, and I'll bite the bullet and I'll be able
yes,
to come clean.
there is a sense of subconscious self-sabotage that exists in all of us. When the pain gets too great and you can't find your way out, then the
Mm.
system will find a way to publicly do something where it just comes out, your wife finds out, the community finds out, or somebody finds out that you've done whatever,
Mm.
and then you're forced to face that. But then now all of a sudden I'm forced to look at the problem. Okay. And the problem is not the sexual acting out or the addiction. The problem is the root cause trauma that has not healed, the shame and the embarrassment associated with things that happen in their childhood. It all boils down, I think you know this, it's pretty clear. It all boils down to your childhood between the ages of 5 years old and 25 years old. There's things that happen to you in that time frame, and in any one of those years is one or two events that stick with you. Even if you forget the actual event, the emotions associated with that event can be triggered by anything at any time. Right. And so those are the people that find their way to me. I'm like, I don't know what it is. I can't stop acting out, or my anxiety is through the roof. I'm not motivated. Like my business has gotten to a certain size and I'm not motivated to grow it anymore. Okay. There's this something's off, something's wrong. And then I go, okay, we're going to have to go back into your childhood because there's something from there that's unresolved. And anything that you're triggered by is an indication of a wound that needs to heal, or some sort of emotion that needs to be released, or a series of emotions. And my container, like there is no judgment. There is nothing off the table. This is the most safe place that you can be to discuss anything that you want, and you won't have to change or do anything unless you want to. There are no rules here. There is no judgment here. There's no absolutes here. This is the world of what if. In our container.
So what if? Wait, so I'm going to ask you. So what if the yeshiva system says, okay, we're going to do co-ed now. Talk about sex and sexuality. There's going to be a revolt in the Jewish experience, in the Orthodox experience. So you're saying, one second, you're saying there's a problem, that there's this no space to exploration. What is your suggestion? You're seeing the outcome of the of a problem. So what would be the solution?
Fine. My solution would be there is no more yeshiva. That would be. You're asking me. You're asking me. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that's the way it's going to be, should be, or could be. I'm saying
no. Wait, what? I want to hear.
No, you eliminate yeshiva. It's no longer something that you have to do. It's something that you can elect to do. And in the elective process, it's a co-ed experience where sexuality is explored, sexuality is expressed and discussed, and it comes off the table as being taboo. It becomes a college experience. It stops being a yeshiva experience.
What happens in college? But college starts at an older. No, but I want Omar. Listen.
What is college experience?
No, I'm saying, you're saying from 13 to 18, give a college experience. The kid is not ready for a college experience. There's a reason why it's at 18, 20.
When does a child go into yeshiva?
Oh, at 13?
They go to yeshiva at 13?
Some of them? No, some of them go very early on. Some of them go, let's say even 15. In Israel, very often, 13, 15. You're saying have a Jewish experience, an Orthodox Jewish experience from 13 years old?
No.
15, 16.
No.
That's too early.
College experience starts
it's
at
from
18.
18, 19. Yes. Yeah. So I'm asking, but the shame starts at the 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. No porn, no sex, no sexuality. It's an avera. Like, what are they going to do? They go to camp. It's all.
I went to co-ed schooling my entire life. My entire life was co-ed schooling. When I went to there in my upbringing, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, all went to school, same classes, same experience. And what? The sexual taboo. I didn't have sexual taboo because of school. I had sexual taboo because of
religion.
Because of religion. But in school, there was no separation or kids. You watch kids walking 15 years old, holding hands with another boys and girls holding hands and kissing on the courtyard, and like having the full teenage experience where it's not this taboo experience. It's up to your parents to teach children about healthy sexuality, about protection, about getting pregnant, about that's the job of the parent. Because the minute the child is sexually active, the hormones are now available or activated in the system. There is no control there. Zero. 13 years old, you become sexually active, your hormones go crazy, and it doesn't matter. You need some either sort of release or some sort of connection, something of that nature. And if you just tell somebody, don't touch yourself, don't masturbate, don't release, don't do this, don't be with girls, don't look at girls, don't do this, don't do that, what you're going to create is a ticking time bomb. That's all you're creating. You're just creating a bomb ready to explode. And the bombs, the aftermath, those are the ones I deal with. Because the bomb explodes and it goes into homosexuality and it goes into pornography and it goes into massage parlors and it goes to being with women. It goes across the map. The explosion, once it happens, once something's done, you can't go backwards. You can't like undo it. And in many cases, it's like I already crossed the line. Too late for me now. Like there's no redemption. And for many of the clients that I deal with, they feel that the things that they've done in their past, there's just no redemption.
So they're just kicking the can down the
They're
road.
kicking the can down the road.
And while they're finding their little like highs of sexual expressions. And what I'm understanding is that because there's this, what is that there's this sexual suppression and
Yes,
taboo. And in order to express yourself, get married. So you want sex,
Yes.
get married.
correct.
And so talk about that a little bit.
So the fact that they were unable to have that teenage experience and not have the college experience leaves them wondering, what if? What if I wouldn't have just gotten married right after yeshiva? What if I would have traveled the world a little bit? What if I would have left Judaism for a little bit of time just to go explore the world and come back? But what if?
Mhm.
What if I would have done that? Right?
Right.
But I didn't. Okay. And so now I am literally trapped in this marriage, trapped with these kids, trapped. A lot of times that's the word that comes.
They use trapped?
Oh, yeah.
Why do they feel trapped? Do they love their spouses and their children?
The thing is that they eventually learn to love their spouses, but in many cases, it was an arranged marriage. It was like, here you are. What do you think? Huh?
Did they want to get married?
In no, they didn't want to get married. What I hear is that the reason they got married is because they were young. That's what was the next step for them. Their parents and the other person's parents were pressuring them. How was the date? How did it work out? Is this working out?
But why are they pressuring them? Omar, go question before. Why are they pressuring them to get married? Ask yourself, why are they pressuring them?
What do you mean? Why are they pressuring them?
Why do you think?
You know
No.
exactly why. Answer the question.
Because they know that first, I think it's a two-part. First of all, it's a core value, build a home, be fruitful and multiply. That's first of all. Second of all, the longer you're going to stay single, the harder it will be to contain this sexual secrecy and shame that's very, very hard to contain since you're 11, 12. So where are you going to express it? You're going to go out to the world, you're going to work, you're going to this or not, or whatever. You're growing up. You want an outlet? Take a wife and have your outlet. 100%.
Why did you get married?
I got married when I was 26.
Okay.
Very late. I went to
All
Hong
right.
Kong. I left in Hong Kong. I traveled the world. And I knew that I'm not going to get married at 19 because I knew I didn't want to be the mother that's giving birth every year because I knew that it's not something that lights a fire in me.
Okay.
And I said, I'm going to be different.
Right.
And I knew that I wanted something that is more sustainable for me. And I'm not getting married just to have sex. I'm not.
So how did you satisfy your sexual needs?
I wasn't even aware of them. I am telling you, you can look me and I wasn't even aware of them.
The point here is that here's a Jew that I'm talking to that took her sovereignty and her autonomy back.
No, I didn't take it back. I was very clear. I am not going to get married in order to be in a prison of somebody else's desire.
You just answered my question.
No, but I'm asking you not from girls.
They get married.
You don't think that men get married in order to have a sexual activity that's kosher? Also,
Yes, that is correct. Also.
So you think it's an add-on, not the big.
It's a big part of it, but the main part is that it is something that is the next step for you. Okay? Or is it not? After yeshiva, what's the next step?
Find a job, find out what you want to do. It depends, I guess, the
The
community.
people,
I
okay, so
think,
you're asking me the
yeah, the
people that
next
I
step,
work
I
with?
think maybe now it's different. Maybe now there's more exploration. Maybe. No? So the people
Matana.
you'll work with,
The
you're saying the
people I
Satmar, they're
work are
very
not you. Okay? They
okay.
are
So
not you.
okay,
In a
very
room for an hour on a date, and then they were asked if they were ready to get married.
okay.
And
It was
their response,
okay.
I go, why did you agree to get married? I didn't know it was an option to say no. My parents asked me, and this was just a natural, this is what they teach us.
Were they excited to be with a female?
No.
No? They were not excited to be with a female after their entire life. They were told not to look at a female.
Oh no, yes, they were excited to be with the female, sure. But the whole nuance of being able to have sex, yes. But you're telling me this is how we should base marriage?
No,
The
I'm not
fact that
saying. I'm
if
asking
they
you,
don't
your
get
client.
married,
For sure not. For sure not.
Matana, this is why we're having this conversation.
Right.
The whole teenage experience, the college experience is missing. And instead of that, in its place is at 18, 19, or 20, you're getting married. And as soon as you get married, within a year, a child is expected.
Right.
And that's just bottom line. That's how it is.
It's tragic.
The people
It's
that
tragic.
Of course it's tragic. Now there's nothing that they can do about it now. There's in the sense of like, even though I come up with this whole, you could move to Australia, you could get you're choosing to stay in it.
Right.
Most people are not going to leave their children to go like
Right.
okay?
Self-explore.
However, guess who does have a chance?
Who?
Their
They
children
give
get a
them a
shot.
chance.
If you decide, if you make the decision that you recognize as an adult that if you could go back and do things differently, then there is still hope for your children. You can liberate your children. You can pick your family up, move to a Jewish community that doesn't have the same restrictions or the same structure as the current environment. Like you could give your kids some freedom. You could give your kids choices. You could teach your kids differently. You have to make peace with where you're at because you have 7 children and you've been married for 20 years. And it's like, what are you going to do now? Okay. Like, I got you. But if you come together with your partner and you decide, you know what? We need to come together as a team and we need to discuss where we're at currently and what could make our lives better and how we can protect our children from things happening to them that happen to us. For example, I'm just speaking as a secular individual. My children would never go into the yeshiva system, ever. There's too much risk. Like just based on what I know as a coach, based on what I've heard time and time again, client after client after time, of the things that have happened to them in yeshiva, that would come off the table completely.
What if people say to you, Omar, you're getting the extreme cases? You're taking the extreme cases and you're canceling yeshiva because of the 1% that comes to Omar. But you're saying this
Omar's not canceling anything. And this is another thing. I'm not canceling anything. You know what you and I are doing right now? You and I are having a conversation.
100%. But I'm saying, what if somebody's listening to understand and they're like, yeah, Omar has a point. I feel exactly, oh my God, whatever Omar's saying, that's me. I was the 18-year-old that was pushed into a room and said, marry, and I didn't even know if I wanted or I didn't want to. Oh my God, yes, they're listening and they're saying, yes, now what? But I want my kids to be in the Orthodox community. I don't want to lose my community. I love my community. And certain parts are so special. I don't want to lose my family. There's a lot of loss when you lose the community.
The majority of my clients don't move, don't make changes. They stay inside their community. But what happens is eventually the mindset clicks. Like there's a shift that happens in their own mindset that gives them permission to look at themselves, Judaism, and their children in a very different way. And so within their own home, they start to create a new dynamic, an opportunity to express, for their children to express themselves openly, to discuss the things that are worth. Most of the kids, the parents start to evolve and the children are like, why aren't you wearing a hair covering, Mom? Okay. Why is your hair different, Dad? Why aren't you wearing a white shirt? Like they start freaking out because their parents start to make changes.
And it's scary.
And they're going to be what? The children are going to be what?
Questioning themselves.
No, they're going to be judged by others. Why isn't your dad wearing a
You
white
mean
shirt?
what's going to
Why isn't
happen
your
to
mom
them?
wearing? They don't care what their parents do. They care about how they're going to be judged in their community.
Perceived, accepted, welcomed.
This is,
Yeah, 100%.
this is the constant. Okay, I hear about the skirt length. I hear about the hair coverings. I hear about the filters on the phone. I hear about some of my clients have to use burner phones to communicate with me.
I'm not sure what that is.
A burner phone is a second phone that they use to communicate with me.
The non-kosher
a non-kosher
phone?
phone, okay,
Yeah.
so that they can have the kosher phone that they show to the school, and they have the non-kosher phone so they can communicate.
So, Omar, I know that you're short on time. I see the systemic problem. There is a systemic problem, but we can't throw the baby out with the bath. We want communities. We want purity. We want kedusha. We want some kind of boundaries. So how can we do the kedusha and the boundaries in a safe way that we don't
You have to
destroy our children?
If you choose to, you would introduce a brand new system for teens, and between 15 and 25, something different needs to be introduced into that system. It's broken, okay? And maybe I only get the broken people. Maybe I only see the people that it doesn't work for, okay? So I can only speak from that perspective. I can only speak from the perspective that based on what I have experienced, based on the clients that have come to me and the stories that I have heard, the system is broken. And no one is questioning it.
I am.
Fair enough. Fair. Let me count the no one.
No, I think people are questioning it, but it's such a lonely place to stand, because from when I'm a little girl, people roll their eyes when Matana says something about spirituality, and they're like, what do you know? Okay, here she comes. Here's your ideas. Here's her thoughts. We don't think that way. MoveOn.org.
I know. I get it. There is no place for expression. There's no freedom of expression. So how about forget everything else? How about making any effective changes? How about you just introduce expression?
Conversation.
Yeah.
Conversation.
How about you sit with your child and you say, so what do you think about yeshiva? What do you think about going to yeshiva? Yeah, I don't want to go. Okay. All right. How come? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. There's an alternative to that.
Or let's look into the alternative
an alternative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is this, there's no healthy conversations about sexuality, about masturbation, about the opposite sex, about marriage. There is just a very systemic process of getting a man and a woman to produce as many children as possible. That's the goal. Period. End of story.
Omar, how many of your couples are on the same page? I'm assuming either the male or female comes to you. Probably more males than females, right?
Yes.
And they come to you because they were caught or because they can't continue anymore. They feel like a void of something. Do you find that they work together on the same?
If I look at my calendar, I'm probably working with maybe 6 couples. Okay. Maybe not that many, but yes, the husband will come in and we'll get to a certain point and it's like, my wife's seeing some like big changes and she's liking it. So she wants to coach with me.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's beautiful. Because I would think there would be the one that's like more reserved and afraid of change and just keep the Hasidish way, keep the black and white way, keep the yeshivish way. Let's not change. Let's just keep it within the boundaries because change is too scary. You go do your healing work, come back, and let's continue to be in this hub.
Yeah, no, the majority of the clients that I work with, they're both on the same page. They're both
That's beautiful.
Struggling.
That's beautiful.
They're both unhappy. Many of them are doing plant medicine. Many of them are going to retreats. Many of them are doing therapy and counseling, and they're deep in it because they know that they're not going to leave their Judaism. They're not going to leave their sect. They're not going to leave their world, but they're trying to make peace with it. They're trying to acclimate to it in a way that they've never been able to really acclimate to it because before they knew it, they're married, raising children, supporting a family. And we can have a whole conversation on the monopoly on food production, on school systems, on clothing, all of which are marked up.
Yeah. Don't get me started, Omar.
Don't get me started. Okay. Don't get me started. Okay.
It's a business. It's a business.
I got 10 kids that got to go to private Hebrew schools. I got to feed all my kids kosher meals. How am I supposed to travel and show my children the world when I've got 10 kids, 10 mouths to feed, and it's all kosher?
They're going to say that's not the goal of being a Jew. The goal of being a Jew is serving God, being
Yeah,
spiritual, be spiritual at
yeah,
home, eat
yeah,
minimal, eat
yeah.
rice and chicken. And if that's what your
Well,
goal is in life, a lot of people really believe that. A lot of people believe like have a little bit and serve God with humility and be humble.
yeah, perfect. And those people don't come to me.
Exactly.
Those people are not coming
Exactly.
to me. It's the
Exactly.
people that are,
Exactly.
and I'll say it plainly and simply, you're here with me because you're ready to leave Egypt. And I want to remind you that somewhere in the Torah it says, you're not a slave anymore. You're not in Egypt. But what's the word that they use so many times? I'm trapped. So these are the people that come to me. And again, this feels like one of my coaching sessions. It's one of
No,
my
I'm doing,
no, no, no,
I'm
no, no,
playing devil's advocate. I'm
no,
on
no,
your
no.
side
But so
all
no,
the
no, no, but
way.
so are they. Like they come to
Right.
me because they want to understand what's the appeal. Why do people come to you? And then we start getting into these conversations. They're like, wait a minute, whoa, but and like you said, like there's going to be people listening to this. But what about this? But what about that? I'm like, look, we can butt all we want. But if you're coming to me, it means you're not happy, you're not fulfilled, and everything that you've done in your life up to this point is not bringing you happiness and is not enough. So
And I
this,
say, what a sad existence of spending your entire life as a Jew being the most removed from God. That what can be more sad than that?
and that's the funny thing is because I've had clients that came down and they were like right on the fringes. They stopped observing kosher. They weren't doing Shabbos. They'd stopped going to synagogue. They were like it wasn't like completely. They in and out, whatever. And they're like, I don't even know. And then they come down and they do medicine with me. Okay. They come down, I serve the mushrooms. Okay.
Mm.
They come out so spiritual. It's like, oh, I felt them in my heart for the first time. And they pick up their Torah and they're walking around in my yard in the back and they're reading and they're like, welcome back, brother. Hashem is not in here. Hashem is not in this room. Hashem is here.
In the heart.
All I have to do, close my eyes, still my mind, take some breaths. God, are you with me? I'm here. There's where God is. I was deep into a bag of cocaine, drinking a bottle of alcohol, guzzling a bottle of whiskey, trying to get the cocaine to come down. At some point, I recognized that I could have a heart attack. I'm sweating profusely. My hands are shaking. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. My pregnant wife is in the other room. Okay. And what do? I get on my knees for the first time in my life and I go, God, if you're there, help me. God, help me. I can't do this. Take me out of this world. My wife doesn't deserve this. My child doesn't deserve this. And I can't stop. Please help me. Make this stop. Yeah. I'm on my knees begging for God to take my life. And the last words I said were, or help me get clean.
It's amazing that you were able to have that moment of hope with such darkness, like that you were able to say to yourself,
I trusted something that I never trusted in my entire life. And the next morning I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I'm still alive. I woke up and the first thought was a therapist that I had talked to 10 months prior who said, I can't help you. You need to go to 12 steps. I got out of my bed, grabbed the clothes that were on the floor, got in my car, drove to his office, and I said, please help me. I need to get to one of those meetings. Okay. And as soon as I got there, I sat in that room and I said, my name is Omar and I'm an addict and I need help. And said, I can help you. You're safe. And I feel what I'm feeling right now. This is God. What I'm feeling right now is God. Like right now, my heart is so open.
Love.
It's so open. There's so much traveling through my body right now. It's in those moments where it's like, I'm here for you, son, and I have always been here for you. There was never a moment in your life that I wasn't there for you, but I was just waiting for you to call, and I'm here. And I have been doing God's work for over 20 years now, not being religious, loaded with tattoos, a demon on my arm. I have been serving God for over 20 years now in one way or another.
First of all, thank you for sharing that, because I feel like sometimes in Hebrew, we say we're zoche. We have the privilege of meeting God, which is the true spirituality. And so often, I'm talking from my own personal experience and people that I speak to for the past, I would say, maybe even 20 years, that the religious programming removes the intimacy with ourself and spirituality
Yes.
because we don't give time for self-exploration. And it's programming. And true intimacy with God, if we go back to the scriptures, you fall, you get back up, you cry, there's something raw about the human experience of not being perfect and questioning. And maybe that is the answer, to bring back the questioning and being okay with it. And that's how we get to the ultimate spiritual relationship with God that's constantly evolving ad 120 till 120. And we're not robots, and we're not meant to be robots.
Everything you just said in the last 2 minutes, probably less, sums up this entire purpose of our call, is to bring up that point. But this is what is needed.
Yeah.
You need to go find God, and you need to go find yourself. And you're not going to find it in yeshiva. I promise you that. In there is programming and rules and a filter system preventing you from connecting directly to God.
I will say, in my experience, that sometimes if you do the journey, you could apply the tools from yeshiva into if you did the spiritual experience, you can see the beauty that they teach in yeshiva and apply it. But if you're going without the spiritual journey beforehand, it's just programming. It's just programming. And then there's no you, and you don't have options. It's just, this is what we do.
Right.
You know how many times I heard, this is what we do.
This is what we do. And let me tell you something. If this is what we do, if I would have accepted that from my mother, where would I be today?
Not serving the Jews.
I know what I was put on this earth to do. Like, I'm very clear what I was put on this earth to do. One of my clients calls me the Jew healer. Okay. And I'm very clear that all my clients and all the people that I deal with and all the people that I work with, they appreciate my candor. They appreciate my intensity. They appreciate my passion. They appreciate who I am and what I stand for. Okay. And it's what draws them to me. That's really what draws them.
Because they never had that permission of self-research. Tal Ben Shachar calls it the me search.
Yeah.
Let's do me search. And you give them permission with such love and such acceptance. And maybe, and I'm going to say to Jewish people out there, I said, maybe if we do it at home, they won't need Omar to do the me search.
100%.
Maybe they'll do it with a parent, with a Rebbe, with a mentor, within what we feel comfortable, the Jewish culture. So maybe we need to bring these conversations. Maybe we need to hire Omar to help the leaders and parents to incorporate these conversations and these dialogues and permission to be human and with all the experience.
Yes.
Omar, thank you. I know we're above our time. Thank you for what you do. Literally, in Hebrew, we say avodat kodesh, your holy work. Thank you for helping people to come back home and live alive and live with authenticity and dignity and heal their brokenness one person at a time. Omar, if there's anybody in the history of mankind that you can meet, who would that be and what would you ask them?
Wow. Never been asked that question. I guess today, hard for me to answer that. Somewhere between the Rebbe and Jesus Christ. Okay. And
when you say the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe?
The Lubavitcher Rebbe. Okay. Because most of the clients that I work with, there's a photo of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Right. And it's like, I would probably ask him, if there was one message that you would want me to get across or help me get across to my clients, what would it be?
Do you see how selfless that is?
I didn't. Wow. Okay. Ooh, I felt that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Omar, beautiful. So you would take your chance to take a question in order to serve others.
Yeah. But yeah.
Let's wrap up with that. Omar, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. I feel like it was really a privilege and a spiritual experience. And hopefully one day we can meet with our energies colliding closer. Thank you so much. And may God protect you. May God bring the right people your way that you can do more healing in the world.
Baruch Hashem.
Well, we're going to put all the links from Omar. If you want to reach out to Omar, if you want to call with Omar, coaching with Omar, plant medicine with Omar, everything with Omar, we're going to put all the links in the show notes.
Absolutely.
Reach out. Get your spiritual awakening.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening to Understand. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please hit that follow button on your favorite podcast app. This way you don't miss an episode and you help us grow. You are part of our growth. We appreciate your support and we hope you choose to listen to us on our next episode. We'd love to hear from our audience. If there's anything you would like us to research, to talk about, please contact us on our website, listeningtounderstand.com. And if there's any insight that you got from this and you want to share with others and you are happy for us to read it out loud on our show, send us your insights. Send us your thoughts. We want to listen to understand. Bye till next time.